And now we're off to the next item on the agenda, which is the job interview for our internal candidate for the town manager's position. We're going to do this. This is a job interview, which normally is taken privately, but the law requires that the select board take all these actions in a public meeting. But it is a public meeting, not a public hearing. It is therefore just the select board that will ask questions, and the public is here to see what we do, to watch how we make sausage here. So we will be doing that, asking Rich questions, and after we're done, we will ask Rich to leave, and we will have a full discussion of what the board wants to do, and the public may stay here for that entire discussion, and we may take a vote after that. Yes, no, or postpone, but that will be determined during our discussion after we have our interview of Rich. And Rich, we want to thank you for putting yourself through this ordeal and willing to apply to be the next town manager, and we'll see how it goes. Good luck. And if you may take a seat right here. If you want to stand, you can stand, but I would rather sit if I were you. And before, I've had lots of experience in hearings on Capitol Hill. And what happens when someone is coming in to be interviewed at some point, usually there's someone, a senator or a representative, that will introduce that individual. Rich, we don't have a senator or representative, but we do have the current town manager who would like to introduce you today. So Jackie, the floor is yours.
Starting to feel like a roast. I asked, I'm going to stick to my notes because, this is important, but I asked Jerry if I could introduce Rich tonight, and then I wrote down my thoughts, and then I thought to myself, is this really an introduction? What is it? What are you writing, Jackie? And then I looked it up, and one of the definitions of an introduction is to make someone known to someone else. And so I would like to share some information about Rich that the staff and I know that maybe members of even the select board or the community don't know. And I also recognize and want to talk a little bit about the fact that we are in a transition to a new manager. And the last transition was from Sheila Vanderhoff, here for 25 years, the only town manager that Eastham had ever had, to me 10 years ago this March. So it's not lost on me that the select board made that decision to choose a person and move into the unknown 10 years ago. The select board at that time took a chance on a person that had far less executive experience than the other candidate. But I think they saw something special. And I think they saw the chemistry between me and Eastham and appreciated that. So I look at my 10 years, and I know this is about me, but it's really not about me. It's going to get to Rich, honestly. I've had 10 years. 5 were pre-Rich and 5 were with Rich. So I wanted to take a look at that, I'm very proud of my first 5 pre-Rich years. And I know it was a huge change for me, for staff, for the board, and for Eastham's public. My management style was totally different. It required that department heads really take much more responsibility and grow as professionals. And transparency became essential to us. We made positive changes in the culture of working, and we grew together in collaboration, gelling as a team. We completed a 2-year strategic planning process with staff and community-wide participation to set goals and set a course for Eastham. And most importantly, I think for me, we completed phase 1 of the water system and moved to phase 2. So we completed the first 10 contracts. So basically, we made changes to the organization and we made the organization stronger, and I'm proud of that. We made charter changes that introduced the finance director role, but we were still in process. The addition of Rich came when I saw Richard as an underutilized asset for the town of Yarmouth. Like, what are they not doing with him? Why don't they do more with him? Maybe he could come here. Maybe we could get him. So he came in, came on as the assistant and the finance director, and really very intentionally and methodically worked to stabilize and professionalize 3 finance departments to support them into a functional team, which was a lot of very systemic hard work. He developed our long-term capital plan for vehicles and for buildings. He introduced forecasting and stable financial policies to Eastham. He established streamlined formal processes throughout the departments and divisions, from professional HR to creating out of IT's fragmented operations, a safe and systemic network that would really serve the town and set us up for success. And it came in especially handy during the pandemic, when it took us less than 2 weeks to go fully online with all of our board and committee meetings. Other towns struggled a lot. We didn't. And that is direct line to Richard. He helped me recognize the importance of regular, clear messages and communications to our residents. I'm a bit of an introvert, believe it or not, and so I had trouble with that. And overall, he worked to make us better, stronger, and more resilient as an organization, and I thank him for that. We developed a strong partnership, he and I, and we worked hard at it. We were able to challenge each other safely, operate as a team with staff, and make collaborative decisions. And I think that he and I have set an example of a highly functioning management team. The strength of our partnership, though, in no way takes away his individual contribution to the town over the last 5 years. So, in the town manager world, I think Richard and I are a little bit alike, because I'm an outlier. I don't have a traditional background for this job. I wouldn't be an obvious choice. And some of the skills that I appreciate the most about myself, I think, are less important to people who choose people to serve in these positions. Rich is similar, although his background is very traditional. He is not. His technical and financial skills tend to overshadow his other skills, but they're there and they bring a unique value to the organization. And I can attest that Eastham without Rich was good, but Eastham with Rich is much better. So the department heads and I get to see this every day, the other set of skills, the other gifts that he brings. And I'm just going to pick out a couple, and then I'm going to turn it over to you, Rich. I know you're really sick of me now. He's an original thinker. He's highly creative, and he's a flexible problem solver. And that, combined with his financial skills, is a unicorn in this world. And we need to recognize that. He cares about people, both staff and residents. And because of that, I think he's a good manager of people, and he cares about Eastham. He's dedicated to public service and truly worthy of the public trust. So I'm glad that Richard is your candidate. He's a great individual and team contributor. I hope the board and residents get to know him better in this interview and get to see the qualities the staff and I see and experience every day.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Richard, do you have anything that you would like to say before we begin asking questions?
You're not going to loosen the tension with a joke, Jerry?
No, the joke, you're lost. You don't have a computer in front of you or calculator, etc. So go ahead.
I think the fact that Jackie didn't cry was
I know.
was on the edge there a
I
couple
was
times,
on the
but
edge.
Well,
yeah,
you did
yes,
well.
he held on to it. I appreciate that.
I do have an opening statement. Thank
Okay.
you very much for giving me the opportunity to be here, and thank you for the opportunity to meet with each of you one-on-one. That was really helpful to me to get to know you a little bit better, know where you're coming from, and I hope you got something out of it and learned a bit more about me. I do want to just take a few minutes or a couple minutes for the benefit of the community and the people that are watching to give them a little bit of background about myself. My name is Rich Bienvenue. I'm your assistant town manager and your finance director for the last 5.5 years. I was a long-time Wellfletian. I grew up on Lieutenant's Island and also in South Wellfleet, where my mother owned a cottage colony. So that meant in the spring, my job was to pick up all the sticks that fell off the trees over the winter. And in the summer, I was the built-in entertainment for all the guests that visited.
It's funny.
Um, I live in Orleans now. I've got 2 kids, both are in college, and they keep me really busy. I went through the Nauset Regional School System, went to the high school in Eastham, worked in restaurants. I was a call firefighter and EMT for almost, I think, 13 years for the town of Wellfleet to put myself through college and as a young person get a leg up when I was just getting started. After college, I was lucky enough to get a job at a local CPA firm that did something that I'd never even considered doing, which was municipal auditing and municipal finance. I didn't even know what that was when I started. We did a lot of work for towns locally and across the state and for nonprofits, a lot of human service agencies. That trend parlayed that into becoming a partner in a regional firm off Cape, where I did more of the same, but on a bigger scale and across southern New England. I was able to make a pretty good name for myself. I had a great reputation, became a recognized expert in municipal finance and municipal governance issues. I became a trusted resource to lots of people, and most of those former clients are now my friends, and I am still keeping contact with them. But after 20 years of traveling and working a lot of long hours, I decided it was a time for change, and I was lucky enough to see a position in the town of Yarmouth, and they were willing to hire me. And I filled a number of roles for Yarmouth over about 7 years or so. I was their town accountant. I was their technical services director, which meant I did the media operation. I did some IT stuff. I did procurement and project management. It also included working with a lot of departments because they didn't have other people that could do some of the things I did. And then eventually I became the assistant town administrator there. But about 6 years ago, 5.5 years ago, I saw the opportunity to work for Eastham. So I talked to Jackie, went through a process, and I was really happy to be hired because it's been sort of a homecoming. And it's really great to be able to spend my time full-time living and working on the Outer Cape. My whole life and career have been about helping people, and I'm extremely grateful that I've been able to continue to do that where I grew up and where I live. I'm looking forward to my continued service and excited about the ways that I can contribute to the community and help people as the town manager for the town of Eastham.
Thank you. We appreciate it. We appreciate that you were willing to apply as well, Rich. So we have some questions that we'd like to ask, and I think we'll go around. So I'll start with Amy at the far end.
All right. Nice to see you.
Thanks, Amy.
It's funny to see you over there and not over there. Soon you'll be over there again. So my first question is, since joining Eastham in June of 2020, what organizational improvements have you implemented that demonstrate your leadership beyond financial management?
Well, there's really a lot of things, a lot of small things, and some of those things happened pretty quickly. Some of those things took years to develop and implement. But I've kind of narrowed it down to probably the 6 big ones, which I'll talk about real briefly, each of them. The first was develop and implement an HR management system. When I got here, we had an administrative assistant doing some HR work, nobody dedicated to the HR function, and we didn't have a lot in place, policy or process-wise. So I implemented a position control system, developed and implemented a classification plan, implemented a whole slew of processes to improve internal control, which those internal controls have been saving us money. And really, all these things help us do our collective bargaining, and so it's been a big resource to have those things in place. But more important than all of that is I recognize the need for a dedicated HR person, and so we were able to piece together little bits of money that we had throughout our budget and repurpose some of it to be able to fund an HR coordinator position. And I was able to recruit, onboard, and develop someone to take over that position. And that became a vital resource to us. So much so, and she did such a good job that we upgraded the position to an HR director position. And our current HR director is the person that's been with us all that time. And I don't know where we'd be without that position in place. So that's probably one of the bigger things that we've done. The second thing, as Jackie alluded to, is really oversaw a total rebuild of the IT function and the IT infrastructure. When I first got here, it was a bit chaotic. It was a reactive break-fix type model. And we had outdated equipment, and we had what we call in the IT world, a topology, a map of how things were connected and how they were configured. So if something went wrong, it was almost impossible to fix it without breaking something else. So one of the first things that we did is we brought in some outside resources that helped us develop a topology, and that took several years to do. And we are now a modern IT operation, centrally managed, proactively working and evaluating our system. We have appropriate infrastructure and appropriate backup and security. So it's been a great process to go through that. So thanks to Sharice, our IT director, essentially, has done a great job. It took her several years, and she's ecstatic about the condition of the IT operation. One of the things that she's done that I've helped her with, she never worked in a municipality before. And so the whole process of dealing with grants and dealing with the state, she took that on, and she's been able to get several grants to fund a lot of these improvements. And whenever you get a grant from the state for IT, they send the IT team to interview us because they want to know what they're buying, so to speak, and that what we're doing is going to result in good improvement. And we get high marks and accolades from those state IT teams when they talk to Sharice. So much so that they think we're among the best IT operations that they've seen when they award grants throughout the state. And I think the staff appreciates all that too, because things not working, downtime, not having modern PCs and modern tools and applications to use, we all have that now, and so we're doing great in that regard. And I think the next step is really training people and supporting them in evolving even further. The third thing I want to kind of talk about briefly is really proud of the way we managed turnover in the finance department. Of the three divisions, we had several retirements. We had a few people move on to better opportunities. But you never heard about any problems during that time. We never missed a beat in being able to do what we needed to do and produce reports and plans to the finance committee and to the select board and to the community. And every time we had some turnover, we took advantage of those opportunities to improve how we onboard people. We improved our procedures, we tightened things up, we documented practices. And so today, I think we're a much more cohesive team. And I'm really grateful for the finance team that we have in place right now. It's a great team that's working together. They support each other. We've provided for turnover and succession planning. And hopefully we have the opportunities for ongoing professional development. So that was a point of pride for me. Fourth, I'd want to kind of highlight our communications efforts. I began doing a lot of the social media postings and creating videos, and even got Jackie to do a couple of videos the first couple months I got here. But that was really just laying the groundwork, and I couldn't really give it the attention it needed. But because of all those improvements that we made in the IT operation, when one of our IT staff moved on for a better opportunity that worked better for her, we realized we didn't need to replace that IT position, and we repurposed those dollars to create the communications coordinator position and took on some of those other IT responsibilities as well, and kind of combined and made a new thing. And without that position, it's been a godsend for us. We would not been able to get through the wastewater project as well as we had. Now we're doing a podcast. We have a sustained information flow and engagement with the community. And obviously, the wastewater stuff was really effective. So that's number 4. Number 5, thought this was going to go a little faster.
No worries. No worries.
A lot of work with department heads, beyond just, the budget stuff. Obviously, I meet with them all the time on budget matters. But I like to think I've been a really good resource and supportive of them. They come to me with, any number of issues or concerns or problems that they have, and I'm able to help them out. I've also been able to help them implement some programs. For example, most recently, we were able to implement a lease to locals program. So I wrote the RFP and kind of guided that process. I've helped them streamline operations, gave them advice in that regard. And overall, I think I have a really good relationship with our department heads and our staff. And then finally, one thing I spent a lot of time and effort on, especially up front, was creating an energy management program. When I got here, we didn't really have one, but we were toying with the idea of the green communities designation, but it wasn't quite moving forward. So I created an energy reduction plan as part of that green communities framework. And as a result of that, we were able to reduce our energy use townwide by about 15%. We ended up getting the Green Communities designation, which came with about I think it was $165,000 grant. And we really supercharged the results of that grant and matched it with Eversource and Cape Light Compact subsidies and other subsidies, and parlayed that into over $400,000 of energy efficiency improvements in town facilities. We were able to get in for free through the Eversource Make Ready program, underground electrical infrastructure to support car charging stations, of which we've got 2 sites, which we got funded through a grant program, so no cost to the town. We got 2 EVs to go along with that. And most recently, we got another grant that's going to upgrade and replace our now 5-year-old or 4-year-old charging stations with much more modern level 2 charging and better level 2 charging stations. And then the final piece is during that time we also started with the Climate Action Committee. Initially I staffed that and helped move that along a little bit, but it's now staffed by Shayna Brogan, our projects and procurement director, and she's doing a great job with them. And they are very active and informed, and I'm very appreciative of them. One of the things they're moving forward now is, as you voted a couple meetings ago, is make Eastham receive the climate leader designation, and that will come with some tremendous opportunities and value to us. First on the table is upwards of $1 million grant, which we're definitely going for, and it's going to replace, hopefully, town hall HVAC aging systems. So those are, I guess, the top 6. And
Wow.
Great. Well, I just want to follow up one thing. There's one thing you didn't mention that you've done, and people, I think, might want to know. You've managed to work with Beacon Hill to get some legislation for us in the sense of the Residential Taxpayer Assistance Fund and the authority to do that, the authority to do those things. Can you just discuss a little bit what you've done in connections with Beacon Hill, which have assisted the town at this point?
yeah, actually, he's part of some of the other answers I have to some of your questions, but yeah, having
Okay. If you're going to
No,
hit it later, we
but
can
it's a
do it
great-
later.
what I'm really proud of is that I'm not afraid to take a chance and do something different, and part of that, and that's part of going to Beacon Hill and seeing what's possible. And so we got special legislation. I wanted it to be called the Eastham Community Fund, but it kind of morphed into something a little bit different. You can't always get everything you want. But we now have special legislation which enables us to have the Residential Taxpayer Assistance Program, and I'm really proud of that. And then separate from that, I've presented to the board the concept of Eastham Community Fund, which is something that we really need to build up as we move forward.
Thanks. All right. Bob, we'll go to you next.
Hey there, Rich. Doing great.
Thanks.
I'm going to read this question the way we've written it, and then I'm going to ask you to focus on one area, if you don't mind. Everyone knows your financial accomplishments. That's a given. Share a success story that highlights your impact in another area of town operations or community engagement. Well, we've heard a lot about town operations. I mean, HR systems, IT infrastructure and security, all the 6 items you mentioned. And the community engagement, you could also argue, would have been covered by the energy management program, the social media groundwork that you put together, or the climate action committee. But what I'd really like you to do, if you don't mind, is focus on that community engagement side of the aisle. You know, what was your impact in other areas of community engagement? I think we know what you've done around here.
I think I think the answer is obvious. But before I get to the obvious answer, I just want to say that it's really important to acknowledge that just being successful in our day-to-day operation is success. And I don't want to discount that, because everybody focuses on these, one-off things or these projects, but there's day-to-day work that, we all have to do. And being successful in that enables those big projects to happen. So
Right.
when I mentioned this big project that you're asking me to focus on, that was a series of very small things that added up to being able to do a big thing. And so the obvious success, I think, is the wastewater effort and the engagement that went along with that. So there's 4 small things that happened that were really important to making that happen. The first is having a true partnership with Jackie. That gave us the confidence to think a little bit differently and to suggest to do things a little differently and be a little bold in what we had to do. And gave us the ability to support each other through some, a couple rough patches that arose through the process. Having a competent and supportive finance team was key. They were able to operate without a lot of direction or support from me. And so that allowed me to focus on what I needed to do, on the engagement, on the financial planning. And they were a great sounding board for some of the things that allowed me to kind of ideate the process through. Having good relationships with local officials and other elected officials. So just locally in other towns that were going through something similar, we were able to get a lot of feedback and learn from some of their experiences. They're a great resource from them for us. And people forget that we did not qualify or make the DEP intended use plan, which would have qualified us for SRF funding. We were below the line, as they say, and that would have made moving forward impossible. But because of our relationships, we used our influence to work with our legislative delegation. We did an appeal to DEP, which was a technical, almost engineering exercise, and we were solid in that appeal. But we were also approaching it to make sure that people had our back. And so, because of that, I think it was literally 2 days before the May town meeting, we got a notification that we automatically got placed above the line and we're now funded for an SRF project. So immediately before we even had the May town meeting, had to plan for a June town meeting. So, and then obviously pulling all that together and moving forward about month and a half with the communications effort. So it was a true team effort. And I'd like to think that my encouragement gave our team confidence to step out of their comfort zone, maybe. Obviously, the success in IT, allowing that communications position. And I think what was successful in that effort is we were able to build it wasn't just any one person, all of us contributed to when an issue or a concern about the project arose, we developed specific information pieces relating to that issue. And a communications director really kind of cleaned it up and made it look pretty and readable, digestible. So that was great. But even further, we were able to pull all those together, and that ultimately became what was that wastewater book. And I think that was effective information to get out before town meeting, and we included it in the warrant. And then finally, the videos. To me, people really need to see what we're actually talking about. We weren't talking about this, 1950s concrete monolith. We were talking about a modern wastewater treatment plant. And so I coordinated with town officials in New Orleans to allow us to go over there. We arranged some tours, and I went over there and took videos and put together a video of this is what we're really talking about. And we've heard a couple concerns. Here's how we're going to address them. Here's how Orleans has addressed them. And I think that was effective and well received. But really, doing those videos, not just me, but the whole team, really gave us a confidence in the ability to put together that final summarized video that we put out just a couple days before town meeting and led off town meeting with that video. And that was, I think, a great thing.
Agreed. Well, thank you, Rich. It was well said. Jerry?
Suzanne?
Looking ahead 3 to 5 years, what is your vision of Eastham? What do you see as the most significant challenges for Eastham, and what strategies would you use to address them?
Thank you. You'd be surprised to know I've got 5 things.
That's down 1 from the 6. So
Yeah, we're getting better. Well, I've been on the Outer Cape my entire life. And I've seen a lot of change since the early 70s through now. Eastham's changing, so managing change in and of itself is going to be a challenge, especially for a whole community. But we're all here. Most of us are here for some common core elements or reasons. A beautiful natural environment, a great sense of community, other reasons. So whatever those reasons are, those can't change, and we need to maintain our values as we move forward. And as I often say, the only way forward is to go through it. And so that's what we'll do. And we've got a lot to do over the next 5 years. The first of my 5 on the list are need to wrap up the water project. It's been a really successful project, and I think it was a little bit before my time when it started and when you went through that process. But I think some people doubted that we could get it done, and we did so really well. We are estimating to be about $7 million under budget, and that includes repaving the roads, which wasn't included in the project to begin with. And we also received $16 million in debt forgiveness by participating in the SRF loan program. Obviously, the big thing ahead of us is the construction of the wastewater treatment plant and the collection system. That's going to be a big project in order of magnitude, a little bit more than the water project. And it'll be difficult, but we'll get through it. But we're going to also need to add some key staff to make that happen. We need to move forward the Northeast Tam Master Plan. We're working right now on developing an RFP to redevelop Tea Time and Town Center Plaza as part of that master plan. And part of that is also redesigning Route 6 from Brackett Road up to the Wellfleet Town Line. And it's also important that we keep making incremental progress on our housing goals. We have a great rental program that we run and manage in town. We've had some success with the Lease to Locals program, converting 6 short-term rentals to 6 year-round rentals. That's great. And we're working on a deed restriction program where we can either buy back year-round rental restrictions or affordability restrictions, and we can either buy them back or hopefully even get some contributed. And so that's something we're working on as well. And then finally, all this is a lot of change, and these projects are going to bring a lot of change. And so more now than ever, I think we are our own support system, each individual community. And so we need to continue to evaluate and implement the programs to support our taxpayers and our residents. And so we have that residential taxpayer assistance fund, Jerry, that you referenced. We have the community fund, and I'm really looking forward to developing that and building that up. And we have a pretty healthy human service program funding that's been vital really to supporting a lot of our residents. The Navigator program alone is such a resource. So those are the 5. What's my approach? I think it's really important for people to understand that, and at least in my view, that Eastham needs to maintain our position as a community and an employer of choice. We need to be a place where people want to be and want to be engaged, and need to be a place that our staff wants to work. We need as many A players as we can get on the team, and that includes staff, but it also includes committee volunteers and other volunteers, and our community at large. Input is great. Need to ensure we continue our efforts in strategic planning. We have a really active and engaged strategic planning committee and a great strategic plan. And they're working hard to make sure that not only that they develop the plan, but they're monitoring progress and making incremental progress as we go. And we're going to align those plans with our operating budget and our capital budget and with our financial planning and projection efforts. So pulling all those things together so that our budgets and our presentations kind of all fit together. And then the final thing, we could do all that work, but it almost means nothing if we're not engaged with the community. So change is coming, and I want to be honest and transparent about what that looks like. And I want to ensure that they have the information that they need to make informed decisions. And that's going to require me to actively listen, to consider diverse opinions and perspectives, because we're not going to agree on all those 5 things that I went through. There's, differences of opinions on many of them that we're going to have to manage and wade through. But the ultimate goal, I guess, how I summarize that is we want to listen and really hear people so that we right size our projects and our work for what's right for Eastham, and not just checking a box or doing what somebody else did. So that's how I would do that.
Thank you. It's interesting, right sizing for Eastham. I thought that was a good statement, as we have to afford for what we want to do and right size it for us. So that's great. As the assistant town manager, finance director, what has been your primary focus, and how has that prepared you for the broader responsibilities of the town manager? And then a second question, we can't just do one. What have you enjoyed most about this role?
I'll take the second one first. I enjoy enjoy working for a town. It's some of the things that are enjoyable about it is it's involved me in almost every aspect of the organization, and by doing that work, it's just great experience. Every day is different, and it allows me to work with some great people, not only our staff but community members and committee members. So working for a town and contributing to the community in itself is just a great reward. It's fun. Sometimes it's hard to see that on a day-to-day basis, and some days are better than others. But in preparing for this, I kind of looked back over the past 5 years, and you just say, wow, we've done some big things and some really good things, and I think we've been really successful. So it's kind of what I enjoy about it. It's a fun, challenging job. As far as the role itself, it's a dual role, right? So as the finance director, I spent a lot of time improving the overall finance function, doing those projections, planning, working with S&P to get our approved bond rating. Made a lot of progress on that. And, unfortunately, no big secret here that because of the water project, we have a lot of debt. That's really the only thing that's holding us back from that AAA. And we keep working with S&P, and I'm hoping by the time we have to make those bands you just approved as bonds, that when they evaluate us, that we might just get over the top. But that's been a lot of my effort on the finance side, as well as overseeing the 3 finance divisions, accounting, treasury, and assessing. So really on that effort's really been on working on onboarding new staff, training new staff, improving practices, making sure that we have professional development opportunities for everybody. On the assistant town manager side, I oversee IT, HR, and the communications and media shop. I support the town manager on a day-to-day basis and a partner in decision-making. I have I'm involved in pretty much every big decision that we've faced over the last 5 years with the town. I work on several town-wide projects. I support department heads. I'm involved in constituent matters and community engagement. I'm a resource to other communities. We've had a couple of opportunities where other towns needed some financial support. And I was able, through a program that Jackie and I created, to kind of loan myself out to some other towns to give them that support, which was obviously helpful to them, but it's helpful for us too, because I was able to bring back things that maybe that they were doing that we could implement, but also it opened the door to people really thinking about shared service opportunities and working with other towns. We've tried a couple, and unfortunately they haven't all worked. But for example, one that has worked is the Lease to Locals program. When we were looking at that, it made no sense to me that every individual town on the Outer and Lower Cape was going to engage a vendor to do the same work. And so I proactively worked with Orleans to ask them would they like to partner on it. And so that decision alone saved each town, I think it was like $30,000 each in the administration of the Lease to Locals program. So that was an effect, a good example of what we can be doing together. And then finally, this job as the assistant and being a partner with Jackie has allowed me to work with elected officials. And so I get called upon to my feedback on, policy matters that are coming across the Cape and across the state. And it allowed us to secure funding, not only for the wastewater project, but also for a lot of grants. And there's earmarks that might be voted on by the legislature. I get the call of what are your projects do you have ready to go? And I always got a list of projects ready to go. And that's one way we get some of the grant funding that we get. So as far as how it's prepared me, I think being a co-partner with Jackie and being involved in all the significant issues is a big preparation step. It has required me, in helping her solve the problems, it required me creative and flexible. And I think being creative in solving municipal problems in the municipal environment is one of my strengths. I have a deep knowledge of the operations and processes that we have in town. And that's going to help with transitions and onboarding new staff in the future. I have a good knowledge of the departments and I know what they need, and they don't always get everything that they need, but at least we develop a plan to make progress. And I think I have a good relationship with all the departments. I have a much better understanding now than I did when I first came here on community engagement and community relations. And so that's made me more effective in working with committees and when I meet with community members. And plus the other thing that, I just alluded to it, but in addition to the community engagement, much better now engaging with our elected officials and other local officials in the area. So I guess the way to summarize that, I think I have a lot of broad-based experience in a lot of areas, in both the public and the private sector. Experience running a business, pretty successful, busy, relatively large business. And I have local knowledge of the Cape and Eastham. And so all those things kind of put together, I think it's prepared me well to take on a leadership role.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Amy?
All right, next. This is question 5. We're over halfway through. Recruitment and retention are crucial for municipal success. How would you leverage your skills to strengthen Eastham's ability to attract and retain top talent?
Well, I'm doing it now. A lot of recruitments in several of the departments in town I'm involved with. But the other thing I'm involved with, as you know, right now we're going through collective bargaining. And I'm not going to obviously talk about the details of that, but I think it's safe to say that in dealing with our unions, that they know that I'm honest and transparent in our dealings and that I care about their needs. So that's really important because that develops a level of trust with them. And that's going to help us get to agreement. And it doesn't mean that they always like what I have to say, but we have good discussions. So being fair, being honest, being transparent, having high standards and clear expectations are really important to be the employer of choice that I was talking about, that people are going to want to join. And so working with our unions, and we can do that together. We need to invest in our staff and ensure that we're properly structured and staffed. When we are properly staffed and people feel supported. They're able to do the work that they ought to be doing, which really contributes to job satisfaction. And it provides us with stability and the ability to do succession planning and handle transitions when they occur. We have a strong onboarding process, and we got to keep improving upon that, keep providing training and development opportunities. We need to provide for job flexibility and hybrid arrangements if needed. Those are all becoming more important now with the new generation of workers. And we need to support our department heads and our supervisors, make sure they have the proper training, the tools that they need to lead their department, and the resources. And we need them to support and develop their staff, just like I'm trying to do with everybody else. The other thing, we've kind of talked about it a little bit already, but I do have a pretty extensive professional network that comes from my 20 years of traversing the state of Massachusetts, from Provincetown to North Adams and Great Barrington, to the North Shore, to the South Shore, Providence. So that includes a lot of participation in regional groups and policy development. So this includes town managers, finance directors, finance people, department leaders, a lot of elected officials. And that's already helped us in recruiting staff. But I'm going to leverage that more going forward. And I'm going to encourage our department heads to be more proactive within their networks and leverage those as well. So it'll be a team effort. And I really want to explore partnering with other towns or local education institutions to develop a municipal training program, so we can provide prospective employees with exposure to the municipal world. I think a lot of times there's reticence to apply to a town, especially on the administrative side, because you're not comfortable with it. And even if you're not reticent, you might be going into a position and have never worked for a town before. You don't understand what procurement is, or what the budget is, or what a warrant is, or how do these meetings work? How do things run? So just having some training on base level stuff I'm hoping will give people the confidence to apply for these jobs. And if we're leading that up, hopefully they'll apply for our jobs. So those are some of the things I would do. But I would say a great culture and all of our collective reputations only go so far. So need to continue to work with our unions. We need to continue to seek the support of our community. The community has given us great support over the years. But we need to have competitive but fair compensation and benefits packages. And so all those things work together. It's kind of hard to have one or without the other. But that's how we're going to be an employer of choice.
Jerry, can I ask a follow-up?
Oh, yes, you may.
So, Rich, you mentioned the last thing there about competitive wages. And I know since I've been on the board, since 2008, I've seen it where one town will raise all the salaries of, say, the police, and then everybody else has to catch up. And then somebody will raise the fire and then catch up, or you lose people to other departments who are paying more. Do you have any thoughts on how maybe to work with some of these outer Cape towns? We're all in the same boat, and, try to work with them to say, hey, before you do things like this, can we work together maybe to try to figure out some of these things?
So we certainly can talk. It's difficult to collude, and we're all in different
collude.
True,
Very
but
good.
I mean,
and we're all different. Contracts expires in different years, so there's some unevenness to it. But it brings up a good point, and I think it's something we need to pay attention.
it's difficult to.
But and it's not just our local region either. Challenge we have is you can't find the people locally that we used to be able to find, and so you have people coming from up Cape or off Cape, and so you're competing with the broader world as well. So just when you think you got your local problem solved, you'll find another one just a little bit further down the Cape. So
Thanks.
I was impressed with your education idea. When I first came to Massachusetts, I thought a warrant meant Adam was going to come put me in handcuffs. So
He's back.
that was it.
in your case, it does, Jerry.
But so I think that's a good idea. I think that's a great idea to try and show that we're in this country. Recently, working for the government has been looked down upon, and I think we want to. That's a good thing to move forward to try and show that it's not. it's something important. It's something to help people and so forth. So I commend you on that. Bob?
Okay, round two. Constituent services are a cornerstone of this role. How would you ensure that the needs and concerns of residents, non-resident taxpayers, and visitors are heard and addressed effectively?
It's a good question. One of the things we're working on right now is developing an internal system to process inquiries and track responses and solutions resolutions. So having a system is important because that maintains accountability and ensures responsiveness, that issues are acknowledged and properly directed. The kind of thing I'm most excited about is when we have that system, we can track inquiries by, property address or person or neighborhood or by issue. And by doing that, we can build a knowledge base. So when the same issue comes up, we have a history of how we've solved it in the past. Or if an issue at the same property or same neighborhood repeatedly comes up, we can make sure we're addressing, some other underlying issue that we should be further addressing. So I think having a system's great. But what I really want to do is be out in the community more and be proactive and engaging with the community. And that's going to require me to meet people where they are. I can't expect them to always want to come to see me or come to town hall. So I plan to continue and to increase my engagement on social media. I think, my videos of me out walking around was well received. I've got a couple comments from people that say, I feel like I really got to know you by doing that. And so I need to do more of those. I just wish it wouldn't be so cold. But also work on our podcast and increase our videos. Hold public forums on key issues. Hold occasional office hours outside of town hall. And we got some great events too. Some of our departments do at the library and at the senior center. So I want to be more present in both of those locations and in other places too. And we'll hold local coffee talks. I think it's a great informal way. I happen to live in Orleans. I go to the Chocolate Sparrow quite a bit. And there's a group of Eastham residents that go there. And every once in a while, I get a chance to sit down and talk with them. So I think it's a great informal way to do some business. I want to be present at community events. I want people to know that I'm available to the community and available to them. And I want them to know who I am so that they feel that I'm approachable and available. Part of that's going to be not everybody's retired in town. We got a lot of working people, work a 9-to-5 job, 5, 6, 7 days a week, multiple jobs perhaps. So I'm going to need to be available nights, weekends, and whenever I need to be. If I need to talk to someone, I'm willing to do that. And so really an important aspect of all this engagement to me is being an active listener and understanding issues and perspectives and making sure people are feeling heard when they have a concern. Having empathy is really important to me and understanding people, knowing where they're coming from. And all that can't just be me. This needs to be a team effort. So I want to make sure this approach is kind of throughout our organization. So I think that's it.
Thank you.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Absolutely.
So you mentioned a system. Is this a software? Is it a database? In my brain, I went, oh, it's a database. And
Knowledge base.
Yeah, it's akin to a like a CRM system.
Okay.
But we're something homegrown. We're not buying separate software. We've got some tools and apps that we have available to us that we can. Our IT shop is astute enough to kind of put together a homegrown system, so we're not incurring any more cost.
Awesome. So your next question is, if you become the town manager, generally, what do you see as replacement or substitute for the assistant town manager and the finance director?
Thinking a lot about this, and in a couple weeks we're going to have to start planning one way or the other for a transition. But in a perfect world, really the roles should, in my mind, should be split. They're two distinct, different skill sets, and both are hard to fill in their own right. And not to brag, but I think I've done a good job holding it down in both sides. But given where we are with the budget and the list of needs that we have, I'm not sure that would be the highest priority. I'd like to take care of some other departmental needs before that. So, at least in the short term. But we'll advertise. We're going to be creative in how we advertise. Doesn't have to be conventional. Doesn't have to be the way it was. So maybe we'll find lightning in a bottle and be able to do that. But we're going to need to be open to being creative, flexible about how we ultimately provide for these functions. That might include some part-time work or hybrid work or remote work. And it gives us an opportunity, which we'll definitely be doing, is talking to our other local communities, see if there's an opportunity to share some services. So there's a lot of things that we can do. And the only reason we can do a lot of that is because we have a good admin and finance team in place. And so we're properly staffed and supported. So that gives us that flexibility that, if you're a one-person show and all your finance functions, you don't have that opportunity. I've had some people reach out to me already that have interest, and that's great. So maybe we have some options, but getting people to change is hard work. So that's why all these things we've been talking about, making Eastham a great place to be, the work culture and the compensation kind of all need to be there. Next week is the Massachusetts Municipal Association annual conference. And for those of you that don't know, that's a conference in Boston that municipal leaders and staff from all across Massachusetts go to the convention center and meet for 2.5 days on various topics. And it's a great place to network. It's also a great place to recruit. So next week will be the recruitment process. I'll be working hard for the town of Eastham, either trying to find your next town manager or your next assistant town manager. Whoever we ultimately hire, I'm looking for someone that holds some of my same core principles: commitment to public service, honesty and transparency. It needs to be a team player. And that person, I really want them to be a true partner to me, and I will be to them. And I want them to challenge me. And hopefully someone who has a different skill set. You don't need to replicate me. I need someone that can complement me and complement the team. So that's what we'll be looking for.
All right, Rich, the last question we have is more on management style. And every manager is different. Our current town manager has regular one-on-one meetings. When I was a manager, I just pop into people's offices and say hi. So all my meetings were in their office, not in mine. As you look, what's your vision for maintaining open and transparent communication across all levels of Eastham's staff?
Well, I also value open and transparent communication and shared expectations. And so the one-on-ones that Jackie holds, I think need to continue. That's really important to make sure that happens. As well as I really appreciate the agenda setting meetings with the chair and the vice chair. I think those are really effective in sharing information and moving things forward efficiently. I also value proactive communication from the staff. It goes the other way too. I want them to be proactive in telling me what's going on, and that way I know the key things that need to be happening are happening. So we've instituted some tools within the finance divisions to support and aid that. One of the things we haven't been doing great, we could probably improve a little bit, is having a more established meeting schedule for larger department and division head meetings. That's a great spot for a staff to meet jointly, improve information flow and collaboration across the department, the organization. And then Jerry, be happy to know one of the things I do is similar to what you do or did. And that is, I call it management by walking around.
Yes.
So a lot of times it's just easier and usually better to communicate face to face, checking in with people and giving or receiving informal updates allows me and staff to provide comments, get feedback, or ability to offer support just immediately without having a schedule meeting. It's a good way to build relationships with people and make sure that all levels of the organization are getting some face time and being heard. And I think that's been really effective in getting to know each other. So, but I enjoy doing that. Also gives me the opportunity to observe what's going on, observe processes, see what challenges they're having, and I can offer support or resolutions to some of those things right then and there. So that's important for me. If I were to become town manager, I'd like to improve upon that by doing it more outside of town hall as well. And I want to work on getting our department heads more face time with the select board. I think that's important. It keeps them and you engaged in the day-to-day work and in our longer term goals. And I think it contributes to improved responsiveness and accountability to each other. So I think doing that would be a priority for me. And finally, doing all that, I think it's important to have a good system in place. So kind of keeping on the theme with technology and IT is we have some technology tools available to us that we can use to create a system where we share notes on our meetings, our tasks and goals electronically. And that ensures that we're accountable to each other and that we're appropriately following up on things that we've been talking about. So
All
I
right.
do that.
No problems. Thank you, Rich. Now, did we miss anything that you want to add, that you want to say before we move on to the next step and discuss?
Well, I have a closing statement, but I also have, I guess, a question before I do that for you. And I'd be interested in hearing what the select board thinks me being successful looks like in the next year. So,
That's a good question. Not one that I think I didn't want to jump at answering, but I think what it means to be successful is, one thing is, if the new town manager, I'd like to not see a lot of employee churn so that we keep from stability. But from the Jerry Searcel's perspective is the select board works as a team and we cooperate. The town staff appears to be working as a team, and you want to keep that kind of effort within Eastham to continue. It doesn't appear that we work against each other. We don't always agree, but we're not working against each other. I think that's the number one thing, is to keep the chemistry of how Eastham works continuing. That would be step number one, and I'll go to a few others, but I'll turn to others. Bob?
Well, I think you're talking about esprit de corps,
Yes.
which is, I think, whenever I come into town hall, I see it all over the place. So I totally agree with you. I'd love to see that stick around. But success, what's the success criteria? Staying on top of everything all the balls we already have in the air. I mean, there's just a lot going on right now. And when we meet twice a month to get the status of how you're doing, what are you focused on? I think a report from you telling us what your risks and opportunities are, just verbally even, just keeping close, making sure we know what your hurdles would be and how you're doing. I think that's how we'll measure your success. What are the problems? What are the opportunities? What were your suggestions? How did the implementations go? With the things that we already have going on now, I think it's been a big push in the last couple of years, really, to get so much done. So that would be what I would be looking for.
Amy?
thank you.
Yeah, I think both agreed definitely with both of what they said. Keep the continuity, of what we have, the strengths we have going forward. I mean, Eastham is looked at, up literally on a pedestal on the Outer Cape. Every time I go to meetings with other towns, other select board members, they're all like, how you guys do it? And I think that is a huge reflection on you and Jackie in keeping us informed, for one, and having that shared goal with our strategic plan, with things like that. And we all know there's going to be change, but keeping that change, in line with what people want. There's always going to be some outliers that don't want any change, but the majority, that vote for things and want these things to happen, still like it to happen without too much upheaval, and we've done it. I think we've done it with water. And so I don't see why we can't do it going forward with wastewater, with housing, with things like that.
Thank you.
So,
Suzanne?
To maybe say a fourth way, you mentioned success in the day-to-day is still successful. And I think one of the measurable ways to see that would be staff turnover, which I don't anticipate having. And maybe on like lighter note, if we ran into people who didn't realize that Jackie had retired, I would like people to know that you are our new town manager, but in the way that we have been a very stable town and community, continuing to offer that going forward. And I don't think people have a large appetite for much change in terms of
No.
no. Sorry.
It's all right.
And I know you said that change is coming, but some of the change that is coming, we have well planned out for. And so I don't necessarily think people are looking for a huge personality change, also not held in the next administration. So
All right.
Thank you.
And the only other point that I was going to say goes with the communication to the community. One of the things that we face, and you know it from the finance side better than any of us do, is that there are things that people want, and things in life aren't free. We have to pay for them, and we want the communication out there of what's happening, not just for town meeting before it goes, but for the people know what's going on when the tax bill comes in October, when the tax bill comes in May. So look, they're not going to be happy or whatever, but at least know what it is, and that we've done things. So these are things that you want. These are things we have to pay for. We're managing it as best we can. That kind of communication, I think, is probably one of the key the key points for any type of success for any town manager, is to have the citizens know what's going on, understand it. They may not fully agree, but at least they understand what it is and what's happening. And I think from that standpoint, your views on the communication are important, but I think that's one of the ways of success, is how well we communicate these issues to the citizens.
Thank you.
Anything else?
did you have any other questions?
Any other questions for us, or your
The,
closing statement is
uh,
fine, whatever you would like.
A brief closing statement. Thank you. Once again, thank you for the opportunity to be here. There are not many towns where I'd want to serve as town manager, and Eastham is one that I would like to serve as town manager. It's a great town. It's a great place to work. I appreciate the stable leadership of the board. I appreciate the support we receive from the community. They've been fantastic to us. And I value the discussions and the civil discourse that we have, and the ability to agree without being disagreeable. A lot of towns across the state reward managers that are very traditional and maintain the status quo. That's not me. I realize change is inevitable, and we don't get to choose whether change comes. We can only choose how we lead through it. And so I'll provide leadership and creative thinking to face our challenges and deliver on the projects that we have ahead of us, many of which we talked about tonight. I'll be innovative and have vision for us to be successful over the long term, and not just survive on a year-to-year basis like lots of places do. I want Eastham to be the best place to live, work, and play on the Outer Cape, while maintaining those core values that bring us all here to begin with. So I'm very thankful for the residents and the staff and others across the Cape, some of my colleagues that have reached out to me, encouraged me to take on this role, and I'd be honored to help lead Eastham into its next chapter.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for what you've done and for applying, and we will discuss in an open meeting, but we would appreciate it if it's more difficult to discuss it in front of you. So if you would
I'll
get
reply
lost
to
and
the kitchen.
but make sure we know where you are.
I'll be in the
We can
kitchen.
find-
There's some leftover donuts.
Okay. All right.
You'll be here.
Sounds making a cake.
Baking cake. There we go.
Thank you
Thanks,
very much,
Rich.
Rich. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Nice job.
More the time for you, I guess.
Yeah.
What's going on?
All right.
Oh, Rich could make it. I said, "Oh, he's busy."
And I appreciate the those of you came to hear, those who listened on, we're still going to be talking, and it's totally an open meeting, but it's just among us. Or, I mean, Jamie's not here. So let me start with first, we can do a lot of things today. We have, fortunately, we've worked relatively quickly so that we have time. We're not under a time pressure. Jackie is stuck with hearing my jokes for a bit longer, but but tonight we can go forward and just discuss. We can postpone anything, delay for further discussions, which would all have to be in an open meeting. We can decide, no, we'd like to not make a decision, and we'd like to open this up to a worldwide search if we want to. Those are things we can do. We can decide, well, we can decide no, period. Sorry, Rich. We could do that. Or we can say, yes, we'd like to move forward. Now, even if we vote yes, we'd like to move forward, we still then have a contract that we have to do with him. Now, the contract is not an open meeting. If that is a private
Change.
a negotiation and an employment issue that is not required by law to be done in an open meeting. And I guess I'm being the chair, am going to be the main negotiator. I'm going to have Lori sticking right next to me with doing it. Kind of difficult to negotiate. I mean, Rich is the finance good chair, so he knows all the finances, but whatever.
The contract
Before the contract, yes.
comes our discussion.
Before the contract, yes.
Jerry is very interested in contracts.
No, I'm not. We have to have the discussion to decide, but this is how it's going to go. And the only other thing that happens, whatever it is, whenever we decide to hire a new town manager, we will not sign a contract until I know exactly when and why Jackie's leaving, because you can't have two contracts, because Jackie's contract is still in force. So those are the steps we're going for. So let's do a discussion on Rich Bienvenue.
Oh, well, go ahead.
You want to start? Go ahead, Amy.
Yeah, so I brought up a little bit when asking Rich questions that, he's very well, not just him, but the town is well respected on the Outer Cape. And they question, like, how is this possible? What sets Eastham apart? And I keep coming back to our fire chief grew up here, our police chief grew up here, Jackie grew up on the Cape in Harwich, Rich grew up in Wellfleet.
Oh,
Two of our select board members are Nauset grads.
Christine.
I moved in here in my 30s to raise a family. We're not all just a bunch of retirees on the board. I think it really matters to have that local voice. We have great community committee members
Yes.
who are very involved. And it really makes a difference. I mean, other towns, they struggle to get people on committees, that people don't want to work with the town. And because maybe they have a lot of outsiders. And I think it really makes a difference. So I'm all in for Rich.
All right.
If it wasn't obvious already.
It's not obvious. Go ahead. Bob?
I agree that the fact that he grew up here and that other people are in that same situation makes a big difference. I've been coming here for 30 years, but I'm still a wash ashore.
Oh, no. And that's a part of our
Community.
Right.
right?
I always thought Rich he exudes competency. It comes out of his pores. And he's a very technical guy. I was listening very carefully in the beginning with Jackie mentioning that he has other talents that we don't necessarily see all the time. And that's exactly what I talked to him about when we went to lunch. And I see them more, especially through those videos
Mhm.
that he did. I just think that he's there's this other side. We've got to flip him over.
Yep.
You know,
It's like a turtle. He gets stuck on one side sometimes.
and we've got to see the other side. I think it's there.
Yeah.
So I just am really impressed with him. You know, I probably have met with him in the last year, maybe 8 times. And I would say only one of them was a scheduled meeting. And he's just got an open door. So he's really a very, I think, well respected for all the right reasons, and I'm all in as well.
Can I say anything, or I can?
Yeah, of course. Somewhat.
Of course. I didn't laugh. Jackie did. Jackie did.
Well, and to a certain point, like we didn't do a larger search, and we owe the community explanations
Yes.
on our thinking. And Amy, as you mentioned, other towns don't quite function like ours, and I see a lot of committees, and it's always like the sum of the parts. It is how everybody ends up working together or not. And it's always the combination that it's not necessarily the individual players, it's how they all play together, which seems really obvious when I say it out loud, but
It's not.
it's not easy. And some of it is a matter of luck, and some of it is a matter of leadership qualities and maybe more luck. Anyway, so I appreciate Rich for all of the things that he has done. I'm going to pick out 2 of the things that I appreciate, and one of them is his willingness to explore creative solutions to problems. Municipal government and government in general can be slow to change and very set in its ways, and not, well, it's been done this way, so it's always been done this way, and we're just always going to do it that way forever and ever. And so I appreciate Rich's willingness to explore new and different options. And it's always very interesting when you do get to talk to him, his ideas of how he would fix certain things, just because it's not in front of the town as something that we are currently pursuing does not mean that he hasn't thought about a creative solution to it. And I appreciate his imagination for what could be done and how it could be improved, especially because municipal government can be quite
Leaden.
yes. And then his standing with staff, I would say, I mean, we have many department heads here and some online and some who couldn't make it. And I've heard nice things, more than nice things, but the rapport that he has with staff and with the unions, and that's really important in terms of continuing on
Right.
what we've been doing.
Right. Well, one of the first things that popped up when we had a consultant talk with us and talk with staff was how respected Rich was by the staff. Now I don't know who could have, because it was anonymous, so we don't have it. But that was important. We also learned from the consultant that if we had an internal candidate, that if you went outside, you would reduce the number of people who would even apply, because they think if there's an internal candidate, they know that individual, and if they like that individual, that's where it's going to go. So why would I put my name in the hopper and potentially have that word get back to my current employer, et cetera? So that was one of the things to look at, and one of the reasons why we, at least I, wanted to move to go forward and let's talk with Rich and see what happens and decide what if we think this is good, let's go that direction and not worry about going for a full search, although we're ready to pull the trigger on that. We have everything set to go if we wanted to do that. And I am not asking to do that. I think it is one of the important things, one of the concerns I had with Rich early on, thinking about it, was that Jackie has the ability to respond to a question with one or two sentences and move on and not get into details. And one of the problems, one of the things I was concerned about with Rich was that he would potentially be too detailed in responding to questions at town meeting and so forth. Excuse me. But in the past few months, I've seen that he can be precise. So he doesn't, he isn't always a lost accountant. He can be precise and short and come back with a response, which I think is positive. People in town like him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Wow. People in town like him, and they are.
God is striking.
Yes, they were saying you're talking too much, Jerry. Shut up. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
can I just add one thing? I meant no offense to the two gentlemen on the board who did not grow up here in Eastham.
Being a Washer Shore, you didn't grow up here. So
Right,
just saying.
right. No. I'm just saying what sets us apart is that we have this mix. Other towns don't have the mix.
Right.
They're seem very one-sided on
We have
backgrounds and that sort of thing.
it's
So
a joy to be on this
Yeah.
select board, to work with Jackie, to
I-
work with Rich or so forth, because
Yeah.
we kind of work together to work with staff. I mean, they even laugh at my jokes every once in a while. So, I mean, it's a plus.
Right.
So thank you. Look at Lori. She takes care of me.
Yes.
She's all right. Yeah.
I will add, because we had discussed doing an external search, and I mean, I personally find that rather stressful. I feel like there isn't a huge appetite in town or among staff for the anxiety that comes along with bringing in a person that nobody knows. And if you've followed some of the town managers in surrounding towns, or even just historically, you meet someone for an hour. Like if we had done an external search, we would have gotten a resume and some questions, and then, mostly it would have been getting to know them
in an hour.
in an hour. And then you're like, okay, well, does this person just present really well? How are they with staff? And there's just so many unknowns in that process that doesn't seem worth it to do to staff. And it doesn't seem worth it to gamble the stability of our town on at this point. Or,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
maybe ever, but
You just piggyback onto that.
Yes.
So last word for me, in towns, well, first of all, in business too. I mean, when you're looking to shake things up, that's when you bring in somebody new. And when you're looking to keep the continuity, you probably look more closely within.
Yeah. And one thing I was going to add before my coughing spit, one of the things that's impressive is that Rich is not afraid to go to Beacon Hill.
Yeah.
And he gets results for us. I mean, that is tremendous. This is a tiny little 5,000 population community 40 miles into the North Atlantic, and he's able to get things done at Beacon Hill. And I just think that that's something that is phenomenal. I mean, it's phenomenal that he can do that. And so, my perspective is, yes, let's take the next step with him. But what's up?
You're killing me, Jerry. You're killing me. But I'm glad we got to the yeah.
Yes.
You
Let's
need to
go.
sign the contract.
I'm ready to sign the contracts.
Negotiate the contract before we
And-
took a vote.
And by that, Rich
Oh,
Rich laughs at my jokes too. So, you know, that's it. So anyway, would we like to take a vote on something? Bob,
Can I make a motion
you're allowed to make a motion.
There you go.
to nominate and accept Rich Bienvenue as our new town manager? And of course, that depends upon the completion of a successful contract negotiation.
Second.
Do we have any further discussion?
oh,
All right, now
no, but
it takes 4. So we have 4 here. 4 out of 5 have to vote yes. And I apologize to Jamie.
It's due to the charter.
Yes, due to the charter. I apologize to Jamie for moving forward, but I think she would appreciate moving forward with this rather than delaying things. So, any further discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion to extend an offer to Rich Bienvenue to be the next town manager for the town of Eastham? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4. Any abstentions? Any votes? No. 4-0. That will be done.
Jackie, are you gonna text?
And we can, huh?
Jackie's.
Yeah, get him.
Yeah.
Meet him.
Eat 'em.
And then maybe at our next meeting, could we offer Jamie some time if she wanted to
Oh, yeah.
make any comments? Yeah. I'm sure.
I do
she'd be
feel
up-
badly she's not.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I didn't hear from her, so I have no.
You
Well,
know, the other
I
thing,
texted her. She said she told Rich. I said, well, he's in the hot seat. So I think his mind was elsewhere.
Yeah, okay.
the other thing we can do is, you can take another vote next week when you have 5, if you want
Right.
5.
If he wants to do that, that would be fine.
Right.
We won't rescind it though. That's-
Yeah, yeah.
yes. Well, Rich, believe it or not, we voted yes.
You're good.
Yeah, so. And I congratulate you, and we want to work hard with you to bring Eastham forward and keep on going and make this even a better place to live than it is today.
It's amazing. Thanks very much. I appreciate it. And Jackie and I couldn't do what we do without all these people. So thanks to all of you.
Well, if you go and look at the tape, you will see that keeping the staff together and keeping a team was important in our discussion.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Now, that ends that part of the agenda. The next thing on the agenda, do we have anything
Yeah, we don't have any.
else? Does anyone have any agenda item they want to add for future meetings? Any other business correspondence?
Motion to adjourn.
That's right. Second, any discussion? None? All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you for bringing that
Hey.
up, Jerry.